An old system. So N is nitrogen. Do I put a prefix on it?
No.
No, because it has only one nitrogen. All right. How many O's do we have? So it has to have a prefix. So trioxide. The second element always gets a prefix. All right. Cl is chlorine. And then F has 2, so di and fluoride. Okay. Chlorine difluoride. Now, P2O5. P has how many?
2.
So we have to use a prefix this time. So diphosphorus. And penta oxide. We don't look up any oxidation numbers. We don't figure out what anybody is. It doesn't matter if we're reduced. We simply look at the subscript and put on a prefix. Okay? Now, are we okay on that one? Stock system wants oxidation numbers. So now we're not interested in the subscript. We're interested in the oxidation numbers. So when we look at nitrogen, we have to know its oxidation number and whether or not it's been reduced. So it's still nitrogen and it's still oxide. That part's not changed. But now, what's its oxidation number? Is there more than one? And was it reduced? So, who did we say yesterday we had to check? The second element. So oxygen has a -2. Is that 2 right there?
No.
No. So what does that tell us? It was reduced. So the original formula was N2O6 because I told you to take that 2 and multiply it through the bottom. So it used to be N2O6. So what number came from the N?
6.
So the Roman number is 6.
So why would we put 6 if that's not one of nitrogen's oxidation numbers?
Because the numbers on the oxidation sheet there are the most common oxidation numbers. It's just not one of the most common.
Oh.
Okay? So, same thing in the second one. Cl is chlorine. F is still fluoride. And check the oxidation number and if it was reduced. Was fluorine reduced?
No.
Fluorine is a 1. What number is right there? A 1. So was this one reduced?
No.
No. So this 2 that's right here came from where? Chlorine. It wasn't reduced. So we don't have to backwards figure out anything. It's just straight up the 2 that was there. And the last one, P is phosphorus. And then O is oxide. And again, was it reduced? Well, it has a 2. What is right there? A 2. So it didn't get reduced. It started as a 2. It's still a 2. So again, this 5 straight up came from right there. So it's Roman number 5. Everybody with me on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So the bottom 2 are just writing the formulas. Remember, no oxidation numbers when you see a prefix. Now, there are, look at your polyatomic ions. There's 1, maybe 2 exceptions. Look at dichromate. It's the one that sticks in my head. Diphosphate. That's the other one. All right. When you see dichromate, it's an exception. It's not old system. It's just the way it's named. Dichromate is its name. Diphosphate you will not see very often. I don't think it's on your reference table. But dichromate you will see. Don't think old system when you see those. Okay? That's just the names. Now, phosphorus pentaiodide. When you see a prefix, you should think, oh, this is old system. No crisscrossing. No oxidation numbers. Subscripts are those prefixes. So phosphorus, does it have a prefix right there? That tells us that it's just a 1. Iodide has a what on it? So that means it's a 5. Okay, I wouldn't write the 1, but I put it there just for explanation purposes. Antimony is Sb. It has what prefix?
A 2.
And oxide has a 5. And you got it. Questions? Any questions about how to do that before we talk homework? Yes, no? All right, let's roll through our answers and see what we have there. All right, which ones do we want to do first? Old system? All right. You got to listen because I have no answers written down on this. I can't put them under the camera. All right, so question 2. Carbon monoxide or monooxide. Carbon monoxide. Number 3, sulfur dioxide. 4, sulfur trioxide. Number 5, dinitrogen monoxide. 6, nitrogen monoxide. 7, dinitrogen trioxide. 8, nitrogen dioxide. 9, dinitrogen tetraoxide. 10, dinitrogen pentaoxide. 11, phosphorus trichloride. And 12, phosphorus pentachloride. All right. Stock system. Number 2, carbon 2 oxide. 3, sulfur 4 oxide. 4, sulfur 6 oxide. 5, nitrogen 1 oxide. 6, nitrogen 2 oxide. 7, nitrogen 3 oxide. 8, nitrogen 4 oxide. 9, nitrogen 4 oxide. 10, nitrogen 5 oxide. 11, phosphorus 3 chloride. And 12, phosphorus 5 chloride. Questions? Which ones do I need to do or talk about? Yes, ma'am.
It's like the ones that that you had to like simplify. Can you tell me that?
Give me one.
Yes, 4.
What's 4 say?
SO3.
All right, so SO3. Am I doing stock?
Yeah.
All right, so S is sulfur. O is oxide. All right, so we're checking the second element. What's its oxidation number? What's O's oxidation number? 2. All right, so you're looking right here to see if there's a 2 there. Is there a 2 there? No, so that tells us it was reduced. Okay, so you need the original formula. So you're going to take that 2 and you're going to multiply it through right there to figure out what the original formula was. So 2 times here would be a 1. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Yes, ma'am.
Under Canvas, those assignments are saying they're unpublished.
That's what I sent her a text about earlier. They still say that?
Yes.
They're cute.
So what did you have them do until then?
They did the implicit thing. No idea. They done on there for a while.
Okay. Yeah, they can't get into it. Okay, I just have them work on my packets.
She never came over and asked. Okay. I don't know what they did. They were quiet. And I left at 9:10. All right. So, once we multiply through by the 2, and you have S2O6, what number came from the sulfur?
Yeah.
Okay, so the 2 came from up there. Are we okay with that? So the 6 came from up there. That's how I got 6 when I called out the answer. Does that make sense?
So why wouldn't it, what? Why wouldn't it? Oh, 6 doesn't fit. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so if you had something like N2O4, the 2 is here. So when you check, the oxidation number is a 2. The 2 is written. So was this one reduced? No. So you wouldn't have to do any of that multiplying stuff I did. You would know nitrogen was straight up a +4. That one's not reduced. So you would write it as nitrogen, Roman number 4, oxide. Okay? But if you had something like CO, okay, is there a 2 right here for it to crisscross down? So that would tell you what? It was reduced, so you'd need to multiply that 2 through the subscript. So you'd get C2O2. So what number came from the C? So you'd write this as carbon, Roman number 2, oxide. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think where I confused is I put the 6 to the S. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Anybody else? Question?
Why don't you do quiz corrections?
Because I don't. I do test corrections, and it's on the first test. There's no corrections on the next test. All right, questions? All right, if you will, you need a writing utensil, and you can use your own oxidation sheet today. You don't even have to have mine. There's no acids on it. It's only on covalent naming.
Okay, you know how I got this one wrong? The acid, I wrote it down. And I got it wrong. Because I forgot.
You know, you and Madison ought to get credit for those 2 things.
I literally wrote it down. Oh, yes.
See through the parentheses in our work, we write in our answer. You've written the answer to the quiz, and you write it down in the question.
I'm just.
Dang.
Okay. I know.
And this one has a typo I've got to tell you about number 10. I misspelled the word.
What is that?
He's taking yesterday's quiz because he was absent. Do you want to take today's or yesterday's?
I'll do this.
Okay. Then put your oxidation sheet up and you get one of mine. And y'all give me your quizzes separately, so I don't grade it the wrong key. Now, if you look at number 10, number 10 says Cartan It's supposed to be carbon. Okay? It's supposed to say carbon, not carton. Everybody see it?
Yeah.
Okay. I know. I told you it was a typo. If we reduce anything today.
When we're putting the the word in there like wrong, like prefixes.
Yeah.
And they're like, can we just like put the prefix in the word or you didn't count it? I don't know what letters to take off what ones.
You mean if they're misspelled?
Right,
Because you
yeah,
put a wrong vowel?
or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I'd have to see it. It's a possibility.
I don't like them, so you can do that. We can all log in the way to this matter.
I can't tell you unless you show it to me. Thank you, sir. So what? Did we simplify anything earlier? All right, how many of us are still working? Anybody? All right, so I got a few hands. right, how about now? Is that everybody? Fabulous. Back to purpose of the front. Carolyn, you put yours on my computer over there. Because that get tangled in the wrong stuff. Yeah, over there on my laptop. Lord, they put it there, I'll never see it. Snacks, going over there, you know. Yeah. All right. Now we're going to. Here, Karen. Go there, everybody. Now, we've learned how to do ionic naming and covalent naming. But so far, everything we've done is been ionic naming, covalent naming. So now we're going to do what? Mix it. Okay? It's mixed on test. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, so on the paper you have in front of you, alright, at the top you have names that are written out. Some of them are in stock, some of them are in old system.
Okay.
Now, the vast majority of the names you will come across will be in what system? Stock. Okay, very few names that you will run across this semester will be an old system. Because stock is the system we use predominantly at this point. Okay? So, if there's one you have to know and one you can't master, which one is it you have to master? You have to master stock. So if you're Annabelle over there who keeps moaning and going, oh my God, which one is it you have to get? You have to get stock. So if you have to just focus on one, stock is the one you have to get. Cast out old. Stock, one of the Roman numbers and the oxidation numbers. Okay? You cannot survive in this class if you cannot do stock system with crisscross and the oxidation numbers. You will die with chemical reactions and balancing in the next unit if you cannot do it. Okay? Okay, you'll drown rapidly. Okay? Old system is not going to be your saving grace. You will sink like the Titanic rapidly.
Can we just take a moment and appreciate what this picture is?
Picture looks fabulous.
Especially it's so pretty. I swear.
Every day.
Yeah. Picture's not going to save y'all either. Now, on 11 through 19, I've given you formulas. You may write the names and stock or old system. Now, when you say old system, you must choose if it's appropriate. So in question 11, could you write it in old system? Why not?
Because it's
And it's a poly.
It has a polyatomic ion, but that's not important. It has a what to start with? It starts with a metal. If it starts with a metal, it's an ionic compound. Could ionic compound be named with old system? No. Okay? So you can only name number 11 with stock. Okay? You cannot use old system because it starts with a metal. Yes. Okay? So they're blended. Figure out which ones you can use. Yes, sir. It can be named old system. It's a different old system. You have to use the Latin names and the roots. Like, for example, iron would be named ferrous or ferrous. It has different endings. Okay? If you typically mainly because we don't use the Latin. Like tin would be stand and stand up.
I will talk on you.
the first one we saw.
In the first one, y'all are numbers and crisscrossing unless it is in old system. It's number one in old system. So for those people who are stuck on 1 through 10, tell me which ones are in old system and 1 through 10.
None of them.
Okay, we're in D2 if you can't tell me which one. Question 5. Okay, question 5, that's it. So with the exception of number 5, what are you doing in everything in 1 through 10?
Crisscrossing.
You're finding the oxidation numbers and you are crisscrossing. You can't do anything else but look up the oxidation numbers and crisscross to write a formula. Okay?
We need to do this on this.
I'm sorry.
This is road school. So what do I learn?
Apparently not much.
Yeah, I don't know where to start.
Number 1.
Number 1,
Yeah.
find calcium. Find its oxidation number. Hold on, let me go tell Ms. Wicker something. Apparently Ms. Thornhill finally figured out what was wrong with her assignment.
By tomorrow.
Absolutely.
See, these. You going back? I'm telling you, I didn't. I'm doing it. Oh, the first time. Oh. Grandma, please stop. No. Hold on, wait. She said the only thing is going to sleep. And we do.
Alright, so we'll do the oxidation number. Alright. Now, iodate. So this is iodate, not iodide. See how it is 8 times 4.
The first one. Okay.
That's iodate.
You wait, see, 8 times this is.
That's iodate.
You're also crisscrossing, like you have to find. Sometimes I just can't run it.
So whenever, like, whenever you first find all of this,
Yep.
you have to crisscross.
Yes.
It's not just as simple as having these.
No. No.
Ask what is tungstate?
Tungstate. It's a polyatomic ion. Hey, anytime it's going, you can choose old or start. Which one are you talking about? What's in here? Yeah, it's old. So you're going to 1S.
What are we doing in the middle?
2S. You can choose. Okay?
Where's
Everything that's not here, you have to look at What's tungsten?
It's right there, that's it.
Tungsten is right here. What is tungsten?
So you said it was a, I read the things.
Hey, it's a polyatomic.
Did I do this? Did I do this right? Because this is this.
That is beautiful. These two are no. You can look at the oxidation of the crystal.
That's beautiful, these two.
Oh, well, I thought they would be one.
No! Guys, y'all are killing me. Killing me! Alright.
I'm really not a
When y'all are looking at doing this, okay? If it says something like sulfur trioxide, okay? This should say to you old system in your head. So you should say, okay, I'm not going to crisscross in your head. So I'm going to say, how many sulfurs do I have? So I'm going to write S with a 1. How many O's do I have?
3.
O, 3. Okay? If I look at something and it says calcium, and I'm just going to make one up and say chlorate. I don't know if that's on your sheet or not. I'm trying to pick stuff that's not on your sheet. Okay? That does not have any prefixes in it, right? So that's in stock system. So I have to say to myself, calcium. I have to look up its oxidation number. What's calcium's oxidation number? 2. Then I look up chlorate. That happens to be a polyatomic ion. ClO3. It has a -1. I picked a polyatomic ion, parentheses, bring my 1 down, bring my 2 down. If it's in stock system, you have to crisscross. Okay? That's the difference between that one and that one.
So for sulfur dioxide, it would be S2O2.
No.
SO2. There's no 2 or there's no di on sulfur. So there's not going to be a 2 on the sulfur.
What about like it's the
Do you see what I mean about 1 and 2 put in the oxidation number? Yes.
what like I think what about
So
Can I drink some sulfur? I'm about to check. I'm gonna just leave for you. She said I got that. I'm looking.
All. This one, all. You cannot use old system, otherwise everything crashes.
Manganese.
What?
I can't.
After you make the testing, everything after the testing is polyatomic ions.
Already dead. I've never read the body.
Well, they'll be together. Just like that. You don't have to. Yeah, but no, yeah, that number right there is going to be on the Yeah.
Probably bread.
You got these two shoes around.
Right. We're gonna play Scrabble while we
find new.
You wanna check our lucky
Well, I'm ready.
It's be honest.
So you check it together.
Yes.
I don't know about it.
So 5, 4.
I can't find that
Where
is.
did you get this from? Sulfate?
It's sulfur.
Oh, no, which one?
Sulfide.
It's down here.
It's regular sulfur.
Yeah, it's that.
It's on this one.
All right, who else has a question? Yeah.
Okay, so since the symbols out here, we keep it for now.
Yes, that's correct.
Whoa, I'm looking at the parentheses now.
Very good, dear. Let me grab my pencil before I wind up in the food for grabbing those pencils.
Right. Go ahead.
Why was it not there?
Yes. Yes. It doesn't matter. It's in stock system. You're looking at box next to crisscross.
So you know it's the same thing.
Yes, because it's written in stock. It's got a Roman number issue. Why are you looking at the oxidation sheet? You've got 5 right there. Yes, correct. Correct. Yeah, it is available. So I could have written that one as diphosphorus pencil oxide. I just didn't choose to. I wrote it in stock.
Okay.
Who else has a question?
Because it's an ionic compound, so it doesn't, it only has one oxidation.
Here's my magnesium phosphate.
But all sulfate have
Right.
at least one.
So no one.
You do it right, you don't have to do it.
So basically, 10 would just be a split. So 9 would just be
All
as
around the
Because it's last, because the
No, it's not.
You know, metal's on this side.
It's 16.
Separating the metal.
All right, who else has a question? Yeah.
Oh, never mind, sorry, there's just a pad. So it's on there, it's got two, so what do you call it? You change nitrogen to,
And ionic compounds can always be softer, so.
Can you write the polyatomic info? Well, I'll write it back. Can you write the polyatomic?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. Dang. That one makes sense.
Why are you doing
That's
that?
right. On the 14, she says it only has I'm using like. It would be a minor nitrate.
those two.
What is a four? I wrote, but for number 12, did you get it?
It's
Did you get it to be a
Oh,
one?
So what do you mean? I thought we were just writing names.
Where you gonna get?
Yeah.
If,
Oh, so then we have to add three.
why is that?
It's two oxidation.
Because they're special.
It just says right name, because they have last name.
Yeah, it's right, both oxidation.
For the first one, it's like-
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, I can get it, half of mine.
I put sulfide. I do. It's sulfide. She told us that if it has ammonium in front of it, it's. But it already has the ATA. Why did you get it to be, if it was like ammonium and then it was one of these, then you would have to change it. But since it's still one of those.
All right, who else has a question?
I'm trying to find it. Oh, what I do.
No, if there's options, you can do it in either. Okay, yes.
Okay, so you said it was.
I
got
Magnesium.
It was number two.
Okay, so if it's in parentheses, where do you find the name?
Because they're both
Yes.
on this side.
And then you have to decide is it D or Roman numeral.
Then I use the ATA. The plus sulfide is this. Yeah, sulfide we change. No, I understand that. My question is, I don't care.
So how many numbers do you have?
No, doesn't have the,
This number.
I know that's what
No, that's always in, those are just one. SO4. Okay, it's right here, something.
Oh boy, what was I doing?
It's not one there. So, not the I try to still say that we're not. Yes, there's also. It's small. I can just,
Yep.
I can also write it
I feel like we're okay.
Guys, that's how you know that. Non-metal, non-metal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah, so we only have
Because it's really hard to understand.
That's how you decide. Yep.
It's not supposed to be, you don't have to touch it. Just while I'm back.
Are you back?
I'm back. The thing on Canvas, the first one is supposed to show some notes, but it keeps telling me to create a channel.
Huh?
Yeah, and I don't know anything about that.
Oh,
Could you see if you could look at it and see if it's right? Because they can't do the second part until they get the first part, and it's not notes on it. It keeps saying you have to create a channel.
Oh my God.
I apologize.
you're fine.
Wait, it's just like we're getting nothing done. I mean, they
I
got different hustles, but
After that, change to where it's at S.
I don't know what, I didn't know.
I thought maybe you might have done I'm sorry, I'm keep bugging.
Fine, I sent her a text, we'll see if she responds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't think so.
All right, who else has a question?
Ammonium is a metal.
If it's polyethylene, that means you can't use
No, no, and that's the easy, well, the easiest way to know you're not gonna use it is if it has a prefix. I mean, sorry, I call it some kind. But if chances are it has this, it also has a metal. Okay, the response to the metal, you are not using the prefix.
Well,
What?
so everything tomorrow,
Yes,
so then Ionic is,
I'll be here today and tomorrow.
is the.
That's fine, I'll be here today and tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow's also the last day of test prep.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So everything left of the staircase.
No, see that blue?
Yeah.
But he's like.
Everything that's blue is a metal.
So if it's a metal, it can't be used.
It cannot have old system. If it has one of those in blue up there, it cannot use old system.
So wait, for, this is just a question, but they don't say, S and O, and would that make it,
Does it start with something in blue up there?
And it's metal.
Let's press L on that.
S?
What's this right here?
No, I'm just asking those.
Oh, if it was just S and O by itself, and they're both over there on the right, then yes, you could name it an old system. Yes. Yeah. I give you the shortcut way. Hello, Diamond. Yeah.
No.
In fashion merchandise.
Wait, what did she teach?
Fashion merchandise. Why does Jimbo just teach in fashion merchandise?
What?
I haven't even seen it.
You want to call?
Yes, or.
I just closed the school.
That was a thing with this one, just do That's all.
No, but they could have it, you know that. Yeah, but it's just like. Because that's
It's scary. It
Oh
may-
my God, I missed the damn
And then they go.
You got it. I think you're just really small mistakes.
Yeah.
So focused on being right.
Sorry. Alright.
Then if you see a polyatomic ion, you're automatically living in stock.
You were dragging that.
Yeah, so we're gonna see it's automatically.
It's like
Double check it.
That's Friday.
All right.
Do you have like a answer key or something?
Yeah, my brain.
She doesn't like that on it.
Well, that's wrong.
She's right, told you. Oh, I forgot to add the rest. Yeah,
All right, let's look at what you've come up with so far. You haven't finished it, then you haven't finished it. So let's look at what you've got.
Wait, just walk there.
And I erased it at the end. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I'm telling you,
Only 2 questions on the test that you'll not be able to do. I'm not sure yet. I know what I need it to be, but
What's your goal?
Monday, but 7 people would be really upset with me if I had it Monday. ACT free stuff is Monday.
oh, yeah. The 18th, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, some people are gonna be out.
Yeah.
Like, at a certain time. You have to go to
We can do it Tuesday, but I'm teaching you new stuff Friday and Monday that's not on the test.
What?
We can't do it Friday.
Because it's,
We have pep rally and other stuff on.
So Friday you should do a review.
We should do
Monday.
No. Here's the problem with the test. We're going to do some new stuff now. It's Wednesday. We're going to finish stuff tomorrow early in class. I'll be done. Theoretically, we should test Friday. We cannot test Friday because we have a pep rally and an assembly on Friday. The schedule for Friday is completely jacked up. Okay, so we cannot test Friday. Monday, we can test Monday. 7 of you will miss half of class. Okay, there's a section of you, I think there's 4 of you, leave at 10:05 and come back by 10:50. Okay, to go do the pre-ACT registration. There's 3 of you who leave at 10:50 and are going the end of class to go do the pre-ACT registration. Okay, now, and then we can test Tuesday because the ACT does not start until Wednesday on the 20th. I have no issues with that, okay? Class will not stop because of the ACT. So I don't have a problem with testing on Tuesday. But that means Friday and Monday, I teach new stuff that's not on the test.
Why? Wait, so we won't review on all, like, Friday nor Monday?
I'll do a little review on Friday, yes. But Monday is completely new material. It's not on the test.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm okay with doing that if y'all are.
Yeah.
Okay, so the test will just be on Tuesday. And then that way on Wednesday, the 3rd of you who are taking the ACT, you're just going to have to watch the video. It's all math on Wednesday. And then I think Thursday there's a sort of, it's counted as a lab grade, but it's a partner activity that you're just going to miss and you're going to make up. And then Friday we're going to start balance. Okay? And you'll miss a quiz on Friday for whoever's ACTing on Friday. All right, now let's talk about the answers so we can move on. All right, number 1. All right, number 1, CA, parentheses, IO3, close the parentheses 2. Number 2, W, parentheses, CN, close the parentheses 6.
So we have to
Yes, you have to have the parentheses. Without the parentheses, it's wrong. The only reason you would not have the parentheses is if the number outside is a 1. Okay, so W, parentheses, CN, close the parentheses 6. Number 3, CR2, parentheses, SO4, close the parentheses 3. 4, FEVR2. 5, SO2. 6, P2O5. 7, K2S. 8, MN, parentheses, MNO4, close the parentheses 7. 9, you had SN2O2, and what do you need to do to that? Reduce SNO. And then 10, CCl4. Number 11, magnesium phosphate. 12, ammonium sulfate. 13, you can name one of two ways. You could have said carbon 4 iodide or carbon tetraiodide. It's covalent. It has 2 nonmetals. 14, potassium nitride. 15 is the only other one that could have been named two ways. You could have said sulfur 6 oxide or sulfur trioxide.
I'm confused because
Okay.
It's not sulfite because it does not have a -2 written at the top.
That's what I thought it was.
No, it does not have a -2 written at the top.
Sulfur what?
Sulfur 6 oxide. If it had had the -2 written at the top, you could have written sulfite ion. But it does not have a -2 written at the top, so it is not sulfite ion. All right, number 15, manganese 5 oxide. 17, potassium thiosulfate. Thiosulfate. 18 is lead 2 nitrate. And 19 is zinc hydroxide. Question? Yes. Say what now? Yes.
So like 17, are we even a little less confused? I still got it, so we're good.
What?
No. You look at magnesium.
Okay.
So magnesium has added numbers right here. One, that's where you might get it.
Oh, no. I told you I might not be right. I told you when I
Anybody else? Question? All right, let's move on and talk about some math. Now, theoretically, y'all are more sophisticated, and so we can go back to mole conversions, only now, instead of only using elements, we can do it with compounds.
We're not that.
Yes, y'all are more sophisticated now.
Do we need a calculator? No, we're not. Okay, so
We'll see.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to talk about formula mass. Now, formula mass has other names also. Probably.
He says,
Rosanna got it.
Hurry up, people.
Sorry.
Can you give me this one?
I got you. She got
As long as today.
Are we done? All right, so formula mass can also be called molar mass, molecular mass, gram formula weight. There's probably a couple other names I don't even remember that I've seen it called. All right, now what is it? It is essentially the mass of the compound. I know that's a really technical definition. Okay, it's the mass of a compound. Now, finding it is very simple. One of the easiest math problems we will do all semester long. You can feel the lies?
What's the
I'm not kidding. The title is on the board. Yes. You know, if I charged you $0.25 for every tissue you took, I might get to retire early.
Oh.
It's okay, Judy. It ain't her fault she dying.
Are we caught up?
No.
Are you gonna put a definition on it?
The blue is the definition.
Why did you? Mark it out.
You look.
I said, this was the title when you asked. I told you those were the other names, and I said that was the definition when I wrote it.
Right.
What didn't you get?
I got it. Me too. Be the reason for your blood pressure.
I've lost 30 pounds to bring my blood pressure down, but I'm still on blood pressure medicine. I don't think I'm ever getting off.
And it's stubby sometimes.
Why are they?
I've been on it 16 years. I don't think I'm coming off anytime soon. Even in the summer, it's not low enough to come off, so. All right, so let's say you have a formula like CaIO3. You really don't have that written down yet.
No, you can.
You good, you good. She used mine.
Okay,
Keep going. She wants to read you.
now, if we want to find the mass of this compound, what things do you think we would need to find the mass of the compound? The what? The number of atoms, good. And what else?
Conversions.
The mass. Very good. Okay. Remember, we're trying to find the formula mass, the mass of the compound. So Nakaya said we need the atoms. So Herman said we need the mass. So we're trying to find the mass of the whole compound. Yes. Okay. So we're going to break it apart and look at each individual element. Thank you, my dear. So, how many atoms of calcium do we have? One. Okay. All right, so if there's no subscript written on calcium, we know it has how many? That's how we know it was one. So, how many I's do we have?
Two.
All right, for those of you who might not have known, what do the parentheses mean? Multiply and distribute. So the 2 goes to the O and it goes to the I. So there are 2 I's. How many O's are there?
6.
All right, so are we okay with the number of atoms that Nakaya told us we needed? Yes. All right, so in case somebody doesn't know where that came from, write number of atoms in your notes. All right, times. We need the mass. Where do you suppose the mass comes from? I heard it out there. Periodic table is correct. So if we look at the periodic table, calcium's mass is what? 40.08. Iodine is 126 point. Okay. And oxygen is. So we're going to multiply these together.
What was oxygen?
So wait,
16.
so wait, that's the case. Does each atom have like a different weight? Is that what it is?
Why does each atom have a different weight?
Different densities, maybe?
It's on the test on Tuesday. We voted for the test on Tuesday, by the way. Even though I will be teaching new stuff on Monday, it's not on the test. The test is Tuesday. All right, why does the atom have different weights? This is on the test on Tuesday. That part is on Tuesday's test.
Wait.
Why do the atoms have different weights?
Different masses.
All right, give me
They're all
different
different elements.
materials and different elements. That's all sort of generic BS. Wouldn't get you. What concept did we learn when we talked about the parts of an atom that actually get you points? Different protons and different neutrons. You can't tell me electrons because what's the mass of an electron? It's 0. It doesn't matter. Okay, only the protons and neutrons have weight. The electrons have no mass.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're different masses because they have different protons and different neutrons. All right, so what are we going to do with these now that we have them? We're going to add them all together. Now, what unit will this be?
AMU.
Very good, Nalasia. AMU or U. Either one. You can use AMU or U. Now, there are no significant digits in this question because did I give you any numbers to start with? No. All I gave you was a compound formula and said find the mass. So you can round off to 389. You can keep both decimal places. It doesn't matter to me. Okay? Huh?
If you give us
Yes, you would have to do significant digits. That's coming next.
How do you know you use AMU?
Because it's a mass. Remember when we found average atomic mass on the last math problem that's on the quiz, or was on the test, and will be on the next test, but it was on the last quiz we did. That's math. You're going to be a joy on the exam. You don't even remember the last test. All right.
I might cry.
You're gonna like just
Alright.
hear me wheeze.
So, to show where we're going with this, yes, my dear. Okay. So, to illustrate, you want homework or that before you go home?
Not really, but.
Yeah, I don't care. It's up to you. Doesn't
Will I
matter to
know
me.
how to do it, or is it what we're learning?
Well, one of it is a name sheet, I think. No, I better keep that. No, I keep it for tomorrow. Because I know you're not going to catch up and watch the video.
I mean, I would, but I probably won't get it because I can't answer my questions.
All right, so 1 mole is equal to 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd atoms. All right, now we're going to add to that today. Okay? So, we're going to add molecules and formula units.
So,
I want you to think of it as we went to the store to get a dozen eggs, a dozen cookies, and a dozen cupcakes. How many are in a dozen eggs? A dozen cookies and a dozen cupcakes. It doesn't matter if we say atoms, molecules, or formula units. The only thing that makes this different is an atom is a single element. A molecule is covalent, and a formula unit is ion. That's what makes the three different, okay? Just like eggs, cookies, and cupcakes are different. In a dozen, they're still all what? 12. So in a mole, they're still all what? Avogadro's number. That doesn't change, but in an atom, it's just a single element. In a molecule, they're covalently bonded. And in a formula unit, they're ionic. Now, if you want to abbreviate, I will tell you molecule is MOLC. I don't use it very much because most people think I wrote what? Mole. If you want to abbreviate formula units, you can write F unit Please don't write FU for obvious reasons. Okay? Now, 1 mole is also equal to atomic mass in grams. Now, based on what we just did today, 1 mole is also equal to formula mass. In grams. Okay? Because now we know how to do this for a compound. Atomic mass was for a single element. Okay? Last week, you guys could only work with elements. Now we know how to do this with compounds. So we're going to learn to draw our T-charts with a compound instead of an element. Everything works the exact same way. Nothing is different. Everything works the same way.
I have a question.
So, yeah.
So if you were to try to figure out how many atoms were in the thing that we were just given, you could, or how many moles it was, you could do like the chart.
That's what we're getting ready to do. Okay, so when we drew our T-chart last week, remember how we had our little flow chart?
Yeah.
No.
Those people who used it. All right, molecules and formula units are down here with atoms. So they work the same way, okay? They're not in a different place. They don't add on a place. They're still in the same place as atoms, okay? So nothing has changed for us and how to do this. We're drawing the same kind of T-chart. So if I say, how many moles of Na2SO4 are there in 49.5 grams, the question should look just like last week's question, except that it's a compound, and last week it was an element. That is the only difference.
Oh, this.
Okay? That is the only difference. Last week we had an element. This week we have a compound. Because now we know how to write compounds. Okay? So when you did this last week on the quiz, that nobody failed, how did we draw this on the quiz last week?
That's a great question. I don't know.
We drew a T-chart. And what did we put on the top line of our T-chart? You did what?
We did what we got, so.
You did what we got. What did we put on the top line?
Yeah, that's what we have.
We put 49.5 grams on the top because that's what was given, right? And so what did we put on the bottom? Yeah, so it would cancel out. And from a gram, we went where? To a mole. Now, have we learned to balance yet? So what do we know is going next to moles? 1. Now, we're getting ever so close to balancing. Late next week, we're going to learn. All right, so what did we put next to grams? So we looked on the periodic table and we said, oh, the mass of, and we wrote it down. Well, now, we don't have the ability to do that because it's a compound. So now we got to do what we just learned. So now we got to say, how many NAs do we have? 2. How many S's do we have?
1.
We got 1 S, no parentheses there.
Oh, so we are
We don't distribute because there's no parentheses. Okay? How many O's? 4. Okay? And I'm going to do this the easy way because we're getting low on time and I want to be able to do at least another one. So Na has a mass of 23, sulfur's 32, oxygen 16. 46, 32, 64, 142.
Okay.
Yay.
I like whole numbers.
Resurrect twin.
What period am I giving these things out?
Fourth period tomorrow.
I got homework tomorrow.
Yes.
Why are you giving them to me today then?
Because we want to make sure y'all have them. So fourth period tomorrow, Ms. Wall.
I'm not gonna beat somebody to death.
Sarah Fields, fourth period.
Do I have a who?
Sarah Fields, fourth period.
No, don't know her.
Come on, Diana.
I think.
Here.
I'm like,
What's her name? Okay, there's her name. Gonna say, what these people's names at?
First of all,
So, what do we do to find the answer? You divide. All right, so to answer Madison's question from earlier, would this one require significant digits?
yes.
Did I give you a question with numbers in it?
Yes.
Yes. So this one will require significant digits. So when we calculate and we get 0.348, I rounded because when I looked at this one, oops, that's not what I wanted. Let's see here. I had how many significant digits? So I need 3 in my answer. Okay? I'm moving. I just need to circle so you can see.
Well, that's a great color.
Right.
You need to start using that.
Right.
Need to find out what that number is. Probably like #01.
There's a highlighter. I found it when I was looking at how to change the eraser back to normal size. All right. Everybody good with that? Okay. That was just a substitute. The only thing that changed in how to do this is you have to find the mass of a compound instead of just going up there going, oh, the mass of sodium is, and writing it down. The only thing that's different.
Is there a time where you have to disregard the mass and only look at the atoms?
Yes. If it had just said there are moles of sodium and it didn't say Na2SO4, it just said sodium and then you just look up there and get sodium. On our test? Yes. I told you. I'll tell you when the end of the test gets here. All right. So let's say that I say how many grams are there in 7.21 times 10 to the 25th molecules of, I don't know, let's do SiO2.
Oh.
All right. So, what's different about this question?
It has to convert.
I gave you molecules.
But it's the same thing as that.
It's the same thing as atoms. You do it just like you do with atoms. Okay? Okay, so in your head, relate that to atoms. Alright? So 7.21 times 10 to the 25th molecules. So what goes on the bottom? Molecules. Now, if that's like an atom, what do you have to go to from a molecule? Got to go to moles.
Wait, why is it? Oh, never mind. Okay.
Okay, I just wrote it there so you remember we're not in a mole, we're in a molecule. Okay? Now, if I wanted moles, I'd stop. But we don't. We want grams. So this is like last time when we went from atoms to grams, we needed how many sections? 3. So we just draw another little section. So what goes on the bottom? Moles.
Oh.
And then what goes on top? Grams. Now, have we learned to balance equations yet?
No.
So what do we know is still going beside moles? 1. Still going to be a 1. Now, if molecules are like atoms, what number goes beside molecules? Avogadro's number. Okay, we can call him a fruit if you want. Okay? And then Grams we get from where? The periodic table. Can I look up there and say silicon is? No. So I got to do the SI equals O equals. How many SIs do I have? How many O's do I have? So times 28 times 16, 28, 32, 60. Okay, so taking my calculator, 7.21 second EE 25 times 60, divide Avogadro's number. Whoops. I got, huh?
I'll just say gram instead of atoms on your right.
Here? Because we're trying to find grams. Did anybody else get 7,183?
Yes.
All right.
Do we round?
So I need 3 significant digits. So I'm going to change it to 7,180 grams. Or 7.18 times 10 to the 3rd grams. Either of those are fine. Either one. Yes.
Why did you put the 09.09?
Why did I what?
Why did you put 20 instead of 10?
Because I did easy math because I'm working on the board and I could add those numbers faster than I could punch in the calculator.
So what is that 20.09 again?
It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. All right, let's talk. Hold on. All right, let me hand these out and I'll tell you which numbers we're going to do because we're only going to do like 5. Yes, it's going to be on Tuesday. Get ready to tell you.
Oh, we get another one.
Oh, yeah. All right, we're doing 1B. 1B and 5 through 9B only. Okay? Not bodily either. And 5 through 9B only.
Problems or application problems?
Problems. We gotta learn how to do the regular ones first.
Application.